Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of lore reactions. That's right, I'm gonna try something a little new today. I'm gonna do some lore reactions. Gonna react to videos where they cover like the whole world build, the lore, character studies, all part of the research because that's what Coqui-san writing channel is all about. It's about writing. It's about storytelling, world building, lore, and what better way to start this off to do this reaction than with the librarians and Magic the Gathering. This video is called The Complete History of Kamigawa, the whole entire plane explained. Basically, Kamigawa started off back in the 2000s as a three set block. I enjoyed it a lot, but there were a lot of odd things that were happening regarding the mechanics. It had Splice onto Arcane, which was bad. Um, it had Bushido, which was underutilized, overcosting creatures. Plus, it was capitalizing on the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon craze that built up at that time. Basically, this was Wizard of the Coast's answer to those two games by offering an entire plane, magic plane, set in Japan. And then nobody ever saw it again until Neon Dynasty happened. I think it was 2 years ago, either last year or 2 years ago, either 2022, 2023. They brought back Kamigawa with Neon Dynasty, and this plane had giant robots and cyberpunk stuff. Akira. I was out of Magic Gathering for 13 years. I was brought back in for Commander, thanks to some newfound friends who introduced me to it, and what great way to have brought me back in than a familiar plane than Kamigawa. And Neon Dynasty got me really hooked me back into Magic the Gathering, and I had 13 years of catching up to do. So now the question that remained was what happened between the first block of Kamigawa, which was a feudal setting, to Neon Dynasty, which is now an anime setting. So be sure to check out the librarians. The link to the original video, watch their original video down below in the description. The librarians. I like the sound of that name. The librarians sounds like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. The librarians, and you see like all these lore meisters, like. So, without further ado, let's get reacting.
The plane of Kamigawa, a land of spirits and samurai, of mortal and ethereal, that has one of the richest and most well-documented histories of any plane in the multiverse. Within are tales of righteous duty, of heartless betrayal, of war and peace, of progress and catastrophe, of tradition and technology. Tales begging to be explored.
That anime looked awesome. The librarians.
Hey Lord lovers, my name's Eric and welcome to the Librarians YouTube channel, where we share the lore and stories behind many fantasy settings to strengthen the connection between people and their passions. Today's video is part 2 of our series explaining the plane of Kamigawa, where we'll trace the history of Kamigawa from ancient times, through the Kami War, all the way to the events surrounding the modern age of Neon Dynasty. If you haven't already, be sure to check out part 1 detailing Kamigawa, its locations, and its denizens. I'll leave a link in the description. And before we begin, I want to give a huge thanks to all
there
of
was
my
a part
supporters
one.
over on Patreon.
I didn't note
Your
that.
patronage means the world to me and helps the channel grow and improve. Alright, time to uncover the sagas of old and learn of Kamigawa's past to better understand its future. Let's dive in. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then, the plane of Kamigawa erupted from a brilliant flash of pure mana. Stars and constellations sped across the sky.
Okay.
A tangible world manifested alongside an ethereal one, and great ley lines pulsed with life-giving mana. A strong force separated the material world from the ethereal, a veil that divided the physical Utsushio from the spiritual Kokuryo. A being took shape from the primordial mists of the ethereal realm, one of awesome power and imbued with the very soul of the plane. Its name was Okagachi, the Great Serpent, the first spirit, the guardian of the barrier between realms. From Okagachi, many spirits, known as kami, were born and suffused both the spirit and material realms. Kami are associated with all things on Kamigawa, and the early civilizations and races that populated Utsushio revered them as gods, responsible for creating everything in the plane. The earliest days of Kamigawa's history aren't well documented, and as such are open to speculation or interpretation. But for thousands of years it seemed the two realms lived in harmony. Human and Kitsune tribes settled the lands of Towabara and erected shrines to give thanks to their white-aligned kami patrons. The Soratami moonfolk forsook the earth and sojourned to the clouds, from which they built great cities and fortresses to distantly observe the events that unfolded below. Nezume ratfolk were born from and drawn to the black mana of Takanuma, where they lived in familial communities amongst dangerous black-aligned kami. The Sokinzan Mountains became a haven for Aki goblins and ogres, a lawless wildland where both kami and demon spirits known as Oni were worshipped. And far to the east, within the dense forests of Jukai, the snake-like Orochi and human monks developed minimalist societies, in tune with nature and ever in reverence to the kami of the forest.
Wow, excellent job linking the colors of magic to all these locations and giving them their own unique not just society but culture behind it. That's actually pretty good. Um, that's actually pretty good. And this is and this is the most fleshed out playing and storylines in Magic the Gathering. There's only 4 sets in Kamigawa, and they were able to draw out just this much detail regarding its history, its prehistory, quite honestly. So it turned out that Okagachi formed was the one behind the kami. So, and then all the mortals from the kitsune to the orochi to the humans revered it, was revering them. Fascinating.
Centuries passed. The enigmatic kami danced across Utsushio while the mortals developed, and the physical realm kept the spirit realm in the utmost respect, honoring their kami patrons daily. But the peace that had taken precedence for thousands of years would soon be shattered in a conflict between physical and spiritual that consumed all of Kamigawa. A conflict that seed was sown in the decades leading up to 3200 AR. Takashi Kanda, a young man and local warlord from the Araba, saw the feudalistic and warring society that emerged across Towabara as pointless and detrimental to all. Rather than strive for collective peace and progress, the blades of warlords cut Towabara into dozens of small provinces, each struggling against its neighbor for survival. These warlords promised land to samurai and warriors in exchange for service, and levied war chests from the peasants whom they protected. But Takashi had a grander vision. He saw a future in which all of Towabara was united under one banner and peace would reign. He took it upon himself to realize this future and built the castle of Iganjo in the Araba. Kanda launched several campaigns from his fortress, earning the reputation of a redoubtable general and subduing more than a dozen warlords. He soon becomes the daimyo of the Araba, ruler of Towabara, and the most powerful man on Kamigawa. Decades later, Takashi's rule reaches its twilight as he enters his 50th year, and his mind is consumed with dreams of continued prosperity. This is relayed to us in the flavor text of Manichi, the Fevered Dream, which reads, "Early in his reign, Kanda fell ill. His head burned with fever, and he saw visions of his future. In them, he saw a spirit child, and in that child's eyes, a way to make his empire last forever. He wishes to retain his power, to provide for his people, and continue an era of unrivaled peace. An opportunity to achieve all this and more arises in 3200 AR when whispers reach the daimyo of a way to traverse across the veil between realms and reach the place where kami dwell. The barrier between Kakuryo and Utsushio is severely weakened when an apocalyptic event unfolds on the distant plain of Olgrotha, but whose fallout sends shockwaves across the multiverse that strangles ley lines and warps Kamigawa's reality. The Myojin of Night's Reach discovers that she could use the faltering barriers to travel the space between planes and visit realms untold in the multiverse, further advancing her own position and power. She keeps this a secret, however. Takashi Kanda enlists the aid of the kids.
So basically, Konda's sort of like the Kamigama equivalent of the Shogun Tokugawa. He was trying to unite basically all of Towabara similar to how Tokugawa was uniting, and it was taking a little too long, and so there's a heck of a lot going on all around. He's starting to get visions regarding the spirits, and so now it looks like there's going to be this is how everything is um, to this war that's going to happen because of the because of Myojin, this Myojin.
Kitsune's spiritual advisor, 8.5 Tails, Hisoka, the kami researcher and professor of Minamo, and Maluko of the Soratami Moonfolk, because of their combined expertise on the spirit realm. The daimyo believes the key to an eternal reign is on the other side of the veil between worlds.
Got it.
And he'll stop at nothing to protect his people. On the night of his daughter Michiko Konda's birth, Takashi and his advisors enact a dark ritual that transports the daimyo across the barrier and into the spirit realm. Konda absconds with an entity, the scion of Okagachi, the oldest and greatest of kami, and returns to the mortal realm, where he imprisons it within a disc, seen in the art of that which was taken.
Oh, he captured
The essence of
Okagachi.
Okagachi's progeny bestows immortality on Lord Konda and power enough to realize his vision of a prosperous kingdom. But Konda's crime has an unforeseen consequence. Angered by the loss of its child and at the brazen actions of mortals, Okagachi falls into a seething rage.
Yeah.
As the great serpent is the kami of all kami, the very soul of the plane, it bellows a command that all the kami of Kamigawa must obey: destroy the mortal realm. This sentiment is echoed in the flavor text of Okagachi Vengeful Kami, which reads,
At
his behest, the Kami War began to regain that which was taken.
So
Konda's crime stirs Okagachi to action, and a 20-year-long war erupts between the mortal realm and its spiritual counterpart that sees the destruction of much of the plane.
wow, a 20-year war? That's insane. Konda wanted power. He captures a spirit and he triggers a 20-year war called the Kami War. Oh, snap. So, man. Oh, dang. I'm very curious. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Wow. Wow. So basically, the mortals and the kami were in absolute peace, but then Kondo decided, "Hey, I want some power here," and he took a spirit to have that power, and that pissed off Okakachi. And Kokachi's like, yeah, all the spirits are going to attack. So basically, the kami, are as much sentient beings as the mortals, on the mortal side of the plane. The humans, the Aki, the moonfolk, they're all they basically coexisting on this weird schism where like you crossing through a mirror. You know what I'm saying? On one side of the mirror, you have where all the humans are at, but then if you enter the mirror, that's where all the kami are at. But both sides are sentient. You know what I'm saying? They all have their livelihoods, their everyday life, and everything. But they coexist through what was it? The ethereal through that ethereal plane where the mana is at. You know what I'm saying? Like they're sharing that pool together. But they never cross over in that sense. The mortals, revered the kami as gods that they are, but because they never interacted with each other, there was this peace that Okakachi established, if I'm understanding correctly. Then Konda jumps in, takes a kami, brings it back to the mortal plane, and now Okakachi is like, "You trespass, and we're gonna snuff you all out." Oh, snap, man. Konda went overboard on this.
3 annals in history detail the major events surrounding the Kami War. Observations of the Kami War, great battles of the Kami War, and the history of Kamigawa, some of whose inscriptions we can read in the flavor text of several cards throughout the original Kamigawa set. The first blow struck against the mortal realm comes when hundreds of kami descend upon the unsuspecting town of Reito and slaughter all they can find.
Wow.
The Reito massacre is the first of many casualties of this terrible war. We can see and hear the mortals' anguish in cards such as Befoul, which reads, "When the rampaging kami at Reito had crushed the opposing militia, swarms of minor kami swept over the battlefield to consume all that remained." And the card
Wow.
Ghostly Prison, which shows the rubble-filled aftermath and states, destroyed in one of the first battles of the Kami War, the town of Reito still grieved. But the bloodshed doesn't end here. For 2 decades, Kamigawa is gripped in feverish war as Kanda and the Mortal Realms defend or counter Okagachi's onslaught across every region. There are minor victories for Utsushio, glimmers of hope where mortals stand resolute against the ethereal, but these achievements are as fleeting as the spirits they attempt to fight, for a kami cannot truly be killed. How can one defeat an inexorable and endless force? The truth is that Kanda is fighting a losing battle, and each year takes a heavier toll on the mortal realm's resolve. We hear their crisis of faith and conviction, heard in the flavor text of cards like Hero's Demise, where Hisoka writes to Lord Kanda, "What will it say on our graves, Lord Kanda? Will it say we led our world to conquer immortal forces, or that we were crushed by our own arrogance? At each defeat, I wonder."
Wow. So this is total annihilation of mortal life, like absolute genocide. Wow, Konda really pissed off the wrong people with what he did, and wow, that's insane. That's insane. So this reminds me of the Earth Minbari War in Babylon 5. You know, the Earth pissed off the Minbari. Minbari is like absolute annihilation of the human race. Not one single human is to exist at all. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. This is what happens when you let power go into your head and you break the peace. Oh snap, man.
And Night of Soul's Betrayal, which shows a ruthless kami attack, and Hisoka beseeches Kanda once again. How can we wage war against ourselves? What happens when the kami of our very souls rise against us? The answer simply, we cannot. We die. There can be no victory in this war. The raging war soon hits closer to home for Takashi Kanda, when hundreds of spirits lay waste to Towabara as they march towards the Aruba and Eganjo Castle to reclaim that which was taken.
Yeah.
The art of the cards charge across the Aruba, and Cleanfall highlight the kami's march towards their intended goal. But Kanda's samurai and kitsune spirit weavers mount a staunch defense and stall the kami's progress. Angered by the daimyo's resistance, Okagachi launches salvo after salvo of molten destruction from the heavens, seen in the art of the cards Stone Rain. The flavor text reads,
classic
the
Stone
kami
Rain.
struck with gouts of fire, showers of rock, and the combined rage of the spirit world. Only Eganjo Castle remained standing, glistening untouched.
Oh, what
in
an
the sun.
insult.
Eventually, the kami were driven from the field and the mortals were left to tend their wounds. Although Takashi retained his prize, his soldiers' resolve was fast depleting, and the largest casualty of the battle came with the death of Towabara's dragon spirit defender, Yosei, whose body was torn in half by Okagachi. Eganjo wasn't the only major bastion to face the predations of the kami. The Academy and Research Institute of Minamo to the north also withstood onslaught at both spiritual and mortal hands. The Battle of Kamitaki Falls saw the scholar mages of Minamo use their knowledge of the ethereal to thwart a kami attack. The school failed to consider one being's quest for chaotic retribution. The ogre shaman and demon worshipper Hidetsugu had taken under his wing a pupil to train and preserve his legacy in the name of his demon patron, the all-consuming Oni of Chaos. When his apprentice Kobo was slain at the hands of a Minamo student, Hidetsugu vowed ultimate vengeance upon the murderer. The Minamo Academy, and even their patron Kami. The ogre attacked Minamo with a contingent of Yamabushi shamans and kami hunters, slaughtering, consuming, and leveling all in his path of reckoning.
Dang!
So great was Hidetsugu's power that he even destroyed Keiga, the Tide Star, and the dragon spirit defender of the land surrounding Minamo. The ogre summoned the all-consuming during the climax of his assault for his patron Oni to feast on the carnage and chaos of destruction. Hidetsugu's complete vengeance
I got that card.
realized, however,
I play
as
that
Okagachi
in
arrived,
my deck.
challenged the all-consuming directly, and defeated the great Oni, sending it into retreat. The ogre himself was betrayed by members of his own gang, known as the Hyozen Reckoners. Toshiro Umezawa, an assassin kanji mage and co-founder of the Reckoners, confronts the ogre and, along with another gang member, mutilates Hidetsugu's eyes. Despondent at the weakness shown by his Oni patron and wanting revenge against the all-consuming, Hidetsugu asks Toshiro to transport him to the demon's lair so that he may enact his own vengeance. The aftermath of the battle sees Minamo reduced to rubble, its research and histories demolished, and the great serpent once more on the move. this time towards Jukai Forest.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy how this war just escalated to such craziness. An entire school with all of its knowledge, all of its writings wiped out. Whatever history remained survived is all that survived. Oh, jeez. No wonder the card calls it Hitotsugu the All Consuming. I mean, I've been playing that card in my Kenrith deck, my Chapman Creature deck, and it's like what's going on here? And not only that, but the fact that the spirit dragons are getting taken out, considering that it was established that the kami were very hard to kill. Not many of them can be killed, but the fact that now these dragons are getting killed, and the star dragons are getting taken out. That's man. So this is basically this world of this plane that was in peace, from one man's selfish actions, just doomed the whole entire plane into its own self-destruction. My gosh, man. That's gruesome. That's gruesome.
Throughout the Kami War, Michiko Kanda, Lord Takashi's daughter, is locked in safety and secrecy within
Michiko.
the elaborate Aiganjo, a delicate prize the daimyo wishes to keep from falling into the wrong hands. As the child of Kamigawa's fiercest mortal ruler, Michiko bears the burden of significance. Many interested parties, both physical and spiritual, seek her. But she is far more important than she first realized. As Kanda's ritual and crime were carried out on the night of her birth, Michiko shares a strong connection to the Taken One, a bond that can be used to end the violence. Towards the climax of the war years, Michiko was consumed with grief for her people and sought a way to end the suffering which took her on a journey across much of Kamigawa. Her path brought Michiko to Minamo, where she questioned Hisoka on the cause of the Kami War. Here, he revealed the circumstances of her birth, the reason behind the spirit world's violent outburst, and her own bond to Okagachi's progeny. Michiko's reality crumbled around her just as Minamo itself fell, as she was present during Hidetsuku's onslaught. Here, the daimyo's daughter crosses paths with and gains the assistance of Toshiro Umezawa, whom she had met once before when he rescued her from Jukai's Myojin spirit. Armed with the knowledge of her birth and possessed with a sense of significant duty, Michiko and Toshi travel to Jukai, where the ultimate battle of the Kami War is about to unfold. The early rays of dawn burn away morning mists. Horse struggle against their halters. Samurai sharpen their blades with whetstones as all prepare for the coming of Okagachi and its Kami army. The calm before battle is pierced when the first wave of Kami begin their assault. Shaman and samurai trade blows with corporeal spirits, and at first it looks as though the mortal line may take the field. They push the Kami back and even gain ground with the mighty Kondo leading his people. But then, a creature of unimaginable size and filled with immense power materializes above the battlefield. With 8 serpent heads whose eyes blaze like the setting sun, Okagachi enters the fray and hope quickly fades. This moment can be seen in the art of the card Final Judgment, where the great Kami engulfs an army. The flavor text reads,
Wow, what a
the
picture.
clashing warriors turned to face Okagachi, the greatest Kami, and their sigh of awe was their last breath.
Wow.
It's
Look
during
at
this
that.
climactic
Look how
battle
tiny
that
they are.
Umezawa gives that which was taken to Michiko. The Myojin of Knight's Reach had approached Toshiro in the past and enlisted his services in hopes of prolonging the Kami War. As long as the barrier remained warped, she could freely move between the planes, but her power and knowledge would be lost if Okagachi regained his progeny. She entrusted the Taken One to Umezawa in order to keep it from the great dragon Kami, but didn't account for his complicit dealings with Takashi's daughter. The disc that holds the Taken One shatters in young Michiko's palms, and Okagachi's progeny is released. The spirit takes on the name Kyodai and an appearance that resembles Michiko. They are 2 sisters, one of spirit and one of flesh, the progeny of the great warring leaders. Michiko and Kyodai merge with another and unlock powers the likes of which Kamigawa has not seen, becoming the sisters of flesh and spirit. Together, they use their newfound power to end the Kami War. The sisters destroy Okagachi, and Kyodai assumes the title of Greatest Kami, the soul of Kamigawa. For his crime and instigation of the Kami War, Takashi Kanda is turned to stone and shattered into 1,000 still-living pieces to wallow in agony for eternity.
Oh.
This is seen in the saga, The Fall of Lord Kanda. For his transgression, Toshiro Umezawa is blinded by Night's reach and banished to the island of Madara on Dominaria, where he becomes the progenitor of the Umezawa bloodline, a family of great import in Dominaria's own history. Though the Kami War...
Now it makes sense why Satoru Umezawa, okay. Wow. And then Ayesha Tanaka, because I have the those cards, and they're from Dominaria. Now it makes sense why they're on Dominaria. Oh, because Umezawa got banished there, and wow, and meanwhile, Konda still alive. Is shattered, still alive. That's a great setup, actually. If you want to bring back Konda and another Kami War or something big, by having, if you want to do another Kamigawa set, they got that to work with. Either the Umezawa clan, or they can do like the Return of Konda, like all of his shattered pieces are brought back together and he's glued back together, and then the stone is removed from him, and then you got the whole Umezawa clan. Wow, to Damadaria. So there. Now it makes sense why at the beginning the librarian said that this is one of the most comprehensive stories in Magic. It's very rich and detailed here, and the potential is really fantastic. To be able to return back, like they didn't lock out the storyline. They left a lot of stuff open that they can actually come back to at any time. They can have the Umezawa clan return and wreak havoc, or they can have Konda return and he starts going after the Kami, or probably some other spirit within another plane if he wanted to. Fantastic. They really set up a lot of good plot points for Kamigawa.
Comes to an abrupt end. There is much destruction to recover from, as both lands and loyalties were reduced to nothing. In the aftermath of the war, the Spirit Sisters take on the mantle of leadership to steward Kamigawa into an age of recovery and reconstruction. The Spirit Sisters' rule brought harmony back to the realms of Utsushio and Kakuryu. Their benevolent leadership acted as a salve for a war-torn plane. But the path towards peace wasn't easy. Many mortals didn't understand the true cause of the Kami War. All they saw was the stalwart Takashi Kanda tirelessly defend their lives and lands from vengeful Kami. They distrusted Michiko's close relationship with a spirit they had not long ago been at war with. Michiko and Kyodai decided to reveal the truth behind the war, how her father's hubris led to countless deaths, and how the Kami weren't to blame for their actions. The Spirit Sisters' campaign of righting past grievances is on display in the saga Michiko's Reign of Truth. The flavor text on the flip side of the saga
I got that card.
tells us of how she and Kyodai brought peace back to Kamigawa, and states, long ago, as the first mortal to bond with Kyodai, Michiko Kanda brought an end to the Kami War and guided Kamigawa into an age of truth and harmony. Iganjo Castle and the surrounding Araba rose from the ashes, brilliantly restored as the seat of power for a newly founded empire. Mortals rebuilt shrines to their patron Kami, and spirits watch over with benevolence. But this era of harmony wouldn't last. Even with the power bestowed by immortal Kyodai, Michiko's mortal body withered with time.
Makes sense.
Eventually,
she can't live forever.
Passed, and leadership fell upon her descendants.
It makes sense.
For many generations, the position of emperor remained within the Kanda family, each new ruler merging their essence with Kyodai as they sought to maintain Michiko's noble legacy. Eventually, noble pursuits and the purpose of imperial position succumbed to the corruption of courtly intrigue, mortal ambition, and pursuit of power. When a young emperor died without an heir apparent, it sparked a dynastic struggle for the throne, as two members within House Kanda sought to enforce their claim. Iganjo crumbled into civil war, and the fighting spread like wildfire across the empire, a moment that marked the beginning of the Shattered States era. The hard-fought peace won by previous generations gave way to bloody battle as every local lord took up arms to seize personal gain in the power vacuum, leading to thousands of deaths. While the two claimants battled for the throne, a young man of the legendary Yamazaki clan took it upon himself to end the bloodshed and save his people. He assassinated one of the successors and cornered the other in the throne room, but Kyodai intervened. Upon seeing the horrors that unfolded between mortals, the great Kami stripped Kanda's bloodline, of its imperial power and vowed that emperors would never again be chosen by blood. Instead, Kyodai would elect rulers for their purity of soul and commitment to the plane. This decree ended the tumultuous Shattered States era, and peace was restored once more. It's also during this period that a threat to all of Kamigawa began to build. For centuries, the spirit dragons guarded their domains and protected Kamigawa from internal strife and external conflict. But the aftermath of the Kami War saw the defeat and death of Yosei the Morning Star, Keiga the Tide Star, and Jugan the Rising Star. Though Kokusho remained in Takanuma, the dragon gave its life protecting the swamp from an Oni attack. All that remained was Ryusei the Falling Star, who continued to fly high above the Tendo peaks and guard the mountain crags of Sokenzan. But with only one dragon Kami left to protect its domain, malevolent forces outside the mortal realm saw an opportunity to wreak havoc and sow wanton destruction. Demon spirits grew more aggressive, and Oni incursions into the mortal realm became commonplace and exceedingly bloody.
Dang.
Their increasing attacks rolled over the plane and culminated in an event known as the Night of Withering, which threatened to doom the entire plane. In desperation, the Orochi of Jukai performed an ancient ritual to resurrect their spirit guardian, and Jugan was reborn. The dragon allied itself with Ryusei, and together, they bathed the Oni in dragon fire in ethereal blasts of magic, defeating the demons and ending the Night of Withering. But Jugan realized something was amiss. In its centuries of slumber, the spirit dragon realized that it no longer had the power it once possessed. It was no longer in tune with its land. The plane of Kamigawa had changed much and severed the dragon Kami's bond. To remedy this and restore its siblings, Jugan gathered the essence of the fallen spirit dragons from across the realm and placed them in a protective, transformative egg. Jugan and Ryusei willingly placed themselves within the mystical egg, which was left sheltered at the base of Buseiju, Kamigawa's greatest tree. For 50 years, the spirits within the egg healed and transformed until they burst forth in completely new forms. Reinvigorated,
so how we
and
got
with
the
their
sky?
bond to the land restored.
Is that the Sky Dragons?
Yosei became Ao, the dawn sky.
Yeah.
Keiga emerged as Kairi, the swirling sky. Kokusho
Wow.
was transformed into Junji, the midnight sky. Ryusei, Atsushi, the blazing sky. And Jugan, Kura, the boundless sky.
That's awesome. I got all 5 Sky Dragons. They were the original Star Dragons reincarnated. Wow, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Wow, man. So they couldn't even have peace with Michiko passing away because humans age and die. The clans just had a power vacuum and had their own warring states period. Very interesting how the lore masters in Wizard of the Coast was trying to do. It seems like they're trying to do like a metaphorical parallel with Japan's history. So we get the early history period, which is very rocky and shaky. But they had that one, but they had one emperor at one point. But then he screwed everything up, and he ended up causing a mass war. Then when they finally found some way to achieve peace, the person who achieved that peace, again maintaining the Konda family line, ended didn't last very long, and it created a warring states period similar to Japan. And so now it seems like they want to get that. It seems like we're coming to the part where it's going to unite again into one single pseudo Japan. Pseudo Japan. Wow. Okay. This is crazy. This is crazy.
The tale of the Dragon Kami Reborn has been passed down for generations, and their new incarnations command as much power and respect as their former selves. We can see it beautifully illustrated in the art of the card Dragon Kami Reborn, which shows all 5 emerging from their hatched egg in resplendent new forms. Kura takes center stage for its involvement in their resurrection. From the tumultuous years of the Shattered States period emerged a prosperous empire united under the guidance of Kyodai. Thus began the Era of Enlightenment, and for centuries the scholars of Minamo, the samurai of Towabara, and the monks of Jukai lived in harmony with another and with the kami that entered the mortal realm in increasing numbers. Settlements grew, children were raised without knowing hunger, technology advanced, and law was enacted that restored faith in imperial leadership. In the centuries that followed, mortals found that new kami were arriving across the barrier at alarming rates.
Mm.
Though most were benign, many emerged confused and agitated, lashing out at the mortal realm. Jukai monks investigated and
So,
found that ripples in reality tore at the veil between realms.
wow.
Utsushio and Kokurio were overlapping, slowly merging into a combined world.
Mm.
The discovery alarmed the mortals, but through the research of Minamo, the manpower of the Imperials, and the natural reverence of the Jukai monks, they created merge gates to stabilize the overlapping realms and assist Kami in making the journey through the veil.
Okay.
A beautiful tapestry was woven to commemorate the event and is on display in the Art of the Card Era of Enlightenment, where we see
Wow,
a
they
member
just
of each
they
order
bit the
underneath
bullet
a
on
merge
this
gate
one.
in the sky. It's towards the end of this era that settlers founded the cities of Tawashi and Sokanzanshi. Artisans and smiths tamed the wild Sokanzan mountain range and guided its flow of molten earth to construct the largest forges on the plain, where creativity meets passion, and from which are born the most advanced weapons or armor. We can see Sokanzanshi's industry in cards like Sokanzan Smelter and Bronzeplate Bore. The expansive
The equipment,
Tendo peaks
weapons,
offer
I
shelter
love
and
those.
isolation, and Sokanzanshi remained a hub for lawless rabbles and Ronin bands. It acts as haven for the rebellious Asari uprisers, led by the disillusioned Risona, who wished to throw off the oppressive yoke of imperial rule. Unlike Sokanzan, Tawashi's founding was bloody and fracturing. The settlement grew at the fringes of Jukai Forest, but as the population boomed, Tawashi ate away at the forest to fuel its growth. Soon, metal skyscrapers replaced the cedar canopies, and deforestation paved the way for a concrete jungle. This affront to nature infuriated the large density of kami that called Jukai home, and they lashed out with all their spiritual might, in action that's related to us in the art and flavor text of Invoke the Ancients, which shows two angered tree spirits and reads, "After large sections were clear-cut to build Tawashi, the once peaceful Jukai forest grew violently hostile to outsiders."
Wow.
Unable to discern friend from foe, the kami even struck at the Orochi snakefolk and Jukai monks, banishing them from the protection and source of their power. The uprooted Orochi found themselves amidst a startling new reality, an age of metal, technology, and progress that they were ill-prepared to accept. They pleaded with the kami, begging the forest to take them in, but no spirit would hear their cries, until the Kirin offered its assistance. Jukai would return them to their lands and power if the Orochi were willing to make a terrible sacrifice.
Oh.
The kami sent their demands, expecting the snakefolk to decline, but instead they agreed to the terms and went one step further, promising to remove their limbs entirely to show their devotion to the forest.
Oh,
Touched
that's
by
right.
the
They
Orochi's
had.
conviction, the kami granted them their wish and altered the snakefolk's form, which allowed them to channel power to an even greater degree. They retained their arms and lost their legs, reverting to a more bestial shape, but they returned to Jukai more powerful than they had been before. This heartening tale is related to us in the saga Teachings of the Kirin. Through the mediation of imperial ambassadors in Kyodai, a tentative peace is brokered between the spirits of Jukai and the booming megacity of Tawashi, but the shamanic and ascetic order of Jukai continues to guard the forest's borders with unwavering, tenacious vigil. And it's
Oh, so wow, that makes sense. In terms of Magic's game design, the color wheel, which is what you see on the back of the cards. These the 5 colors of Magic, where they show that they're show how they're aligned and opposed to each other. It makes sense that Jukai Forest, the forest would be pissed off because forest doesn't like unnatural stuff like buildings and artifacts. That's why a lot of there's a lot of cards that in green that destroy artifacts because it's not natural, and because of Tawashi being built on natural land, that the forestation, it wrecked the green. You know what I'm saying? It went against the green alignment, and it makes sense that the Jukai who decided to be amongst the enlightened instead of being with the spiritual, the nature would get called out on it, and in order to return to the forest, they had to make the sacrifice because in the Kamigawa blog, a lot of the snake folk, the Orochi, they did have legs. But in Neon Dynasty, I didn't even catch on, that they lost their legs. It didn't even click. They became more snake-like but retained their limbs. And so this is what happened. They wanted to return to nature, but they had to pay the price for siding with the unnatural environment of the city, Tawashi. Wow, wow.
It's now that we come to the events that transpire leading up to the current day of Neon Dynasty. The glamour of bustling metropolitan hubs and cutting-edge technology is underscored by dirty deals struck in lightless alleys and renegade technocrats fighting to free themselves from the yoke of imperial strictures. No one knows the struggle between black market technology and governmental oversight better than Kaito Shizuki, who at a very young age became orphaned with his twin sister when a Tawashi laboratory accident exposed his parents to radiation. His father was imprisoned by imperial agents for seeking black market medical technology to save his dying mother. Both passed, and the twins were taken into the Kitsune Lightpaw's custody in the imperial castle of Aiganjo. For many years, Kaito skirted all responsibility, seeking freedom on the rooftops of the city as a means to escape duty. But he could escape responsibility for only so long. Kaito soon became sparring partner for the young emperor. The two had already been acquainted when Shizuki accidentally fell in her private garden while avoiding his mentors, and they became very close to one another. Then, tragedy struck Kaito at the age of 14 when an otherworldly infiltrator with control over artifice and an arm of metal snuck into Aiganjo. Tezzeret, a planeswalker from Alara, had worked alongside the Saiba futurists to develop prototypes for a device capable of augmenting reality, called the Reality Chip.
I got that card.
Tezzeret hoped to tether Kyodai with the chip and use it to control Kamigawa's soul. But the Emperor
That was my first rare from the side.
Few eyes witnessed what transpired next, but the Emperor vanished into thin air. The alarm sounded throughout Aiganjo's halls, and Kaito pursued the planeswalker in hopes of rescuing his Emperor and friend. Tezzeret also blinked from existence, and Kaito was left grasping at wisps, recounting a tale that no Imperial believed. So he took it upon himself to discover the Emperor's fate alone. Shizuki joined the Hyozan Reckoners, one of the most influential and ruthless criminal syndicates in Tawashi's underbelly, to gather intelligence and pick up the Emperor's lost trail. His efforts brought Kaito to the moonfolk Tamashii, a futurist whose life was dedicated to studying how kami spirits interacted with the barrier between physical and ethereal realms. Tamashii developed technology that allowed kami to merge with and inhabit artificial bodies, an enormous leap in the realm of metaphysics. Kaito was tasked with stealing this technology, but when he approached the Tanuki drone, Shizuki found that it was inhabited by Himoto, the kami of the spark. Their interaction ignited something deep within Kaito, and his own planeswalker spark erupted in brilliant flame. Himoto can be seen within the Tanuki drone in the illustration of Kaito Shizuki's planeswalker card. The planeswalker met with and befriended Tamashii, who acted as a mentor for him while Shizuki used his newfound abilities to cast a wider net across multiple planes in hopes of catching the missing Emperor. 9 years passed without so much as a whisper on the Emperor's whereabouts. The Imperial Court maintained rule under the guidance of the advisor Lightpaws, but Kyodai grew erratic and restless. Futurists, sabotage, and criminal activity increased, and deep within the mountains of Sokinzanshi, a rebellion against the Empire brewed. Risona, once a great Imperial captain, led the Asari uprising and gave a steel voice to those out of tune with the Empire, those who sought to destroy it altogether. In this tinderbox, Kaito is approached by his twin sister Eiko with a tip. Tamashii's research has far more sinister applications than they realized, and he's been working alongside a man with a metal arm. Kaito recalled his brief chase with a man who matched Eiko's description on the night the Emperor went missing. With the first lead he's had in years, Kaito infiltrated Tamashii's lab and realized he'd been conducting research on Kami to perfect a version of the reality chip, the device connected to the dubious Tezzeret. Shizuki trailed Tamashii to a rendezvous with his employer, which is a hulking and grotesque beast of metal, the blue-aligned praetor from New Phyrexia named Jin Gitaxis. Tezzeret had been collaborating with Phyrexia to discover means of brainwashing and controlling planeswalkers through the process of Phyrexian completion. The Kami's ability to travel between realms provided adequate testing environments and subjects, and the progress made on the reality chip meant that Phyrexia would soon meet its goals. No longer of any use, Gitaxius kills Tamashii, and with his dying breath, he gave Kaito a name, Tezzeret. His cold case quickly became white hot, and several leads brought Kaito to Tamio, a fellow planeswalker and native of Kamigawa. In their discussion, Tamio reveals Tezzeret as the stranger with a metal arm who appeared years ago on the night of the Emperor's disappearance. Tamio fought the planeswalker during the War of the Spark. She emphasized the threat he posed to the multiverse and revealed to Kaito that she had also crossed paths with the Emperor. Tezzeret's attempt to control Kyodai with his reality chip prototype inadvertently ignited the Emperor's latent planeswalker spark, but twisted its nature. Unlike other walkers, the Emperor must make a conscious and taxing effort to remain on a plane, or else her spark will send her hurtling across the blind eternities. After learning that not only is his Emperor and childhood friend alive, but she is a planeswalker like himself, Kaito returned to Tamashi's lab to retrieve the reality chip in hopes of thwarting Tezzeret's plan and bringing the Emperor home. Shizuki's retrieval of the chip is highlighted in the Art of the Card reality heist, but his old mentor's lab wasn't vacant. The metallic gargantuan Jin Gitaxias emerged from the shadows alongside a contingent of Blades for Hire to challenge Kaito, seen in the Art of the Card planar incision, whose flavor text illuminates the Phyrexian's purpose on Kamigawa.
Man, just look at this. What a design. This is a crazy design. Wow. So basically Kamigawa had zero connection whatsoever to planeswalkers or anybody from other realms until until they hit their modern age. And then that's when they started having planeswalkers like Tamio and Kaito. And that's what got them exposed to Tezzeret and Jin Gitaxias. Oh wow! And because the spirits are capable of jumping through portals from their spirit realm into the mortal realm, Jin Gitaxias. Okay, so him and Tezzeret were doing research for portal jumping. They were doing. Oh man, they were trying to figure out from the kami and how they can be able to utilize the kami, so that way they can do successful portal jumps. It looks like that's what they were attempting to do, and take control. Ooh, that makes sense. And also to take control of planeswalkers, because planeswalkers can also portal jump. So okay, so that's the link between the spirits and the planeswalkers, because spirits can portal jump, but only within Kamigawa. Planeswalkers can jump from plane to plane. So he was trying to connect the two together, so that way he can be able to. Oh, okay. Spirits that, it says it right here. Spirits that could pass between worlds made for perfect test subjects. Oh snap! This guy, wow, Jin Gitaxias was onto something.
Jin Gitaxias had long coveted the secrets of planeswalking.
Yeah.
Spirits that could pass between worlds made for perfect test subjects. The Praetor hoped to secure the power of planeswalking without a spark, but one had just presented itself in Kaito.
Okay.
Gitaxias and his henchmen surrounded the shinobi, but as they closed in, a brilliant flash of light erupted, and a blade of pure energy cleaved Omek in two. The wandering Emperor had returned to Kamigawa. She and Tamio assisted Kaito's escape, and the three returned to Eiganjo with the reality chip in tow. Though the Emperor reunited once more with Kyodai, their connection remained tentative at best. It was impossible to share a connection while the Wanderer's spark tried to rip her from the plane, but without her, Kyodai, the very soul of the plane, would remain confused and agitated. The companions decided to use the reality chip on the Wanderer as a way to soothe the tempest within her spark, which is seen in the art and flavor text of the card Anchor to Reality, which reads, "The Wanderer sighed in relief as the reality chip tethered her wayward spark to Kamigawa." This restored the Emperor's connection to Kyodai, but the relief was short-lived, as word reached the castle that Jin Gitaxias informed Rasona and the Asari uprisers of the Emperor's return. Stirred to action, the rebellion marched on to Eiganjo from Sokenzanshi, prepared for civil war. While the Wanderer remained to protect the chip and defend her people, Kaito and Tamio returned to Tamashi's lab to destroy the Phyrexian's precious research on the nature of reality. Equipped with enough explosives to level a high-rise, the pair set about their task and mistakenly walk into another trap. Jin Gitaxias awaited their arrival and had with him the planeswalker Tezzeret, who revealed that Phyrexia's research would be accelerated exponentially with the acquisition of 2 planeswalker sparks. Once more, the Wanderer arrived in a brilliant flash of light to rescue the pair, and they returned to Eiganjo with a subdued Tezzeret, just as the uprisers marched on the castle. In the bedlam that unfolded, the Emperor defeated Rasona in her rebellion, but Tezzeret broke free from his shackled, overpowered Tamio, and escaped through the planar portal housed in his body with the Moonfolk as his prisoner. Though the day is won and the Emperor's connection to Kyodai restored, the loss of Tamio is a crushing blow to Kaito and the Wanderer.
Oh.
She relinquishes the power of her title to pursue Tezzeret and the Phyrexians across the Blind Eternities, and so transfers imperial duties onto her senior advisor Lightpaws. The Kitsune may have great cunning in court intrigues, but Lightpaws and the Empire still must contend with the Saiba futurists in an ever-expanding planar anomaly as the realms of Utsushio and Kakuryo continue to merge. Meanwhile, Tamio is brought to New Phyrexia, where she undergoes the painful and mentally fracturing process of completion. Jin Gitaxias and Tezzeret transform her into the first Phyrexian planeswalker, seen in the cards Tamio's Completion and Tamio Completed Sage. New Phyrexia is one step closer to realizing their vision, leaping across the blind eternities to bring the blessings of completion to all the planes, which will have dire consequences for the multiverse. Thanks so much for watching and listening to the history of Kamigawa.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh. Okay. Okay. Now it all makes sense. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. So, what a history of Kamigawa that was. Oh, dang. And then how it was completely isolated. The Kamigawa block was completely isolated from the rest of the story lore of Magic the Gathering. Like the plane was its own self-contained story and had nothing connected with any of the other planes like Dominaria in the original block. But then they put it all together in Neon Dynasty by expanding its evolution. They expanded the evolution of Kamigawa by giving it an enlightened age and send them into a modern age, in which they entered into their modern age. And during that whole period, the Kami was starting to pass through the portals freely because the spirit realm and the mortal realm were starting to merge together. But they stabilized it. Everybody stabilized it and started coexisting with the Kami. But because the Kami are capable of jumping world to world, but within the plane of Kamigawa, that caught the attention of Tezzeret and Jin Gitaxias. And that's why they went in there, because they were looking for a solution to complete the planeswalkers. For those of you who might not know, complete is basically assimilation. It's just Wizard of the Coast's fancy way of saying assimilation, without saying assimilation. So basically, they were looking to turn planeswalkers of Magic the Gathering into robots, basically, mindless cyborgs, and because the planeswalker spark started happening. People were able to jump into Kamigawa, and the whole purpose, the whole goal, was not just only, and this is what I picked up on, not just only was Jin Gitaxia's plan to make the planeswalkers into Phyrexians, but also to make non-planeswalkers capable of jumping from plane to plane, because you have to be a planeswalker to jump from the Dominaria plane to Kamigawa plane, from Kamigawa plane to Theros plane, and so on. But you got to be a planeswalker to do that. Wow. Okay. So the idea was to make all creatures, which means that it would have made it easier for the Phyrexians to be able to jump planes without having to be planeswalkers, while at the same time eliminating the planeswalkers. Hot dang, that is amazing. That's very well done writing. That is very well done, and what a beautiful history that they really put into Kamigawa, the Kami War, how the birth of the plane, the birth of the Kami from Ogakachi, Konda, the emperor stealing this essence from the spirit realm and pissing off Ogakachi, and Ogakachi went into a wipe the species genocide thing. Like the mortals of Kamigawa were fighting for the species because they just pissed off the Minbari basically. But peace was attained, and then found out that all the star dragons were reborn as the sky dragons. I have all the sky dragons, and I just need Kokusho to complete my star dragons for my spirit dragon deck that I want to build with these guys here. But so those are the gaps that I was looking for to get filled out. It's pretty impressive how they were able to tie what was an isolated storyline, and we're able to link it up with the whole Magic metaverse, the whole universe. You know what I'm saying? All the planes. How did it tie in? And that was pretty impressive by having them modernize, and thus and thus allowing the kami to freely move back and forth within Kamigawa, and that drew the attention of the greatest enemy Magic. Well, one of the two greatest enemies that Magic ever has had to deal with, and that was the Phyrexian. The other is the Eldrazi. So holy mackerel, what? Oh man, and there's 3 parts to this. I thought this was. It doesn't even say part 1. It just says the complete history of Kamigawa, plain explained. Now I want more of this Kamigawa, more Kamigawa lore. Like, how did they come up with the technologies? Like, where did they come up with the mechs? You know what I'm saying? What about the what was going on with the with the Shattered States period, which is a play on the Warring States period in Japan. Let's see. What else? What about the Wanderer? How did the Wanderer move around? I mean, they just kind of gloss over that. They were like, yeah, the Wanderer disappeared, but she reappeared from time to time. Jeez. They weren't lying when they said that this was a very very robust, and it only had 4 sets. It had only 4 sets, and the sets, mind you, that set, the block set was early 2000s, and then the Neon Dynasty happened a couple of years ago, so it was a 20-year gap, and they still managed to pull that off. The lore masters of Wizard of the Coast did a great job, able to get Kamigawa back into the fold and link it up to the whole of Magic. So, and there's still, and not only that, but there's still more issues. Light Paws is currently while the Wanderer is wandering, the Emperor is busy wandering. Light Paws is running Kamigawa. Got to deal with Saiba, the Saiba Futurists, because they're a bunch of terrorists, techno terrorists. And then you got and I guess Rizona. I'm not sure what Rizona's fate was. I think I may have missed it. I don't think they explained it. There's still that potential of uprisings. Wow. So there's still more story to go. Kamigawa is not even done yet. Oh man, I like this. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I like this. So, comment down below. Comment, like, subscribe, follow. You know you want to. And head on over to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man, a strange fantasy novel written by me. You'll find the link to the merch down below, along with other merch like pins, stickers, t-shirts, music. All links are available down in the description below. And if you're interested, you can join me over on my live multi-stream at Twitch and Kick, Monday through Thursdays, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to hang out for more of this cool stuff that I do on the live streams. So, here we go. Until the next lore research and reaction, thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, a buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.